And I'm going to call the meeting of the Maple Run Unified School District Board of Directors to order. We are in St. Albans Town Schools Library. First up is the agenda review. I have a couple revisions. We have item 8A, or sorry, item 8B, the capital plan proposal, which I'd like to move to right after item 7B. Is there any objections to that?
I thought it was going to be after 6B.
After 6B.
Yeah.
After 6B. So correction on that, moving item 7B to just after item 6B. Any objections? Hearing none, we'll go forward with that. And then we have item 8D, a personnel matter that will require an executive session, and I'd like to move that to the end of the meeting. Any objections? Hearing none, we'll go ahead with those revisions. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up is our visitors section. I'm not seeing any visitors in the room, unless Mike, you want to say something? Do we have any visitors online who'd like to speak?
I just sent the message.
Okay, we'll give it a moment or so. Hearing nothing for visitors, then we'll move on to consent agenda. Does anyone have any revisions to or any objections or adjustments to the consent agenda? Hearing none, consent agenda is accepted without objection. Next up is reports to the board, starting with 6A, Student Board Representatives Report. What do you have for us?
Okay.
We have Jacoby and, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Olivia.
Olivia.
Yes. Okay. So we're doing more student surveys from throughout the districts. We're going to different sports events and theater and dance events to collect surveys to add to our, what is it called?
Add to like our data collection.
Our data collection. Okay, your turn.
Yeah, and we're also kind of doing like some mid-year reflection, so reflecting on how our project's going, and then looking ahead into next semester, we're going to be looking at transitioning into more listening sessions for our group. So how can we really capture targeted student feedback on our 5 district goals? And our goal would be to present that feedback and kind of what are tangible things that we've heard that either we're going to start working on or that other groups in our school are going to start working on alongside the monitoring reports with the school board.
Great.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much. Next up is item 6B, the FY25 fund balance, and I believe it's going to be Bill and Bree, or is it just you?
No, it's the two of us.
Okay.
A lot of Bree, a little bit of me.
Okay.
So we wanted to give you an update on the fund balance. We talked about the last meeting. We were hoping to give you a fund balance update, so Bree's going to do most of that.
Okay.
And I'll let you go with it.
Perfect. Okay. So back in April, I had presented the budget, and looking at the budget with the unexpended expenses and additional revenue, we were looking to receive about $6.5 million in surplus. We were able to spend down some of that money, and we will be reporting a surplus a little less than that, but still a little bit more substantial. So the expenditures came in opposed to $3.5 million. They came in just over $2 million. And then with the revenues, we were expecting about $3 million additional in surplus, and it was about $3.3 million, making that a capital reserve surplus of $5.384 million. With that, reasons why the increase in the revenue. 2.65 million was special education extraordinary costs. We had budgeted $1 million for last year and received 3.65 million. Throughout the time, we had received an additional $1.5 million in September of this year for back payment that belonged in FY25. And then we received an additional $230,000 from our tuition true-up. So that money is money that we have charged to the districts who are sending. So students coming from Sheldon and Georgia, those students, we had set our allowable tuition rate. That's going to be something that's going to be brought here for the next board meeting for FY27. But that was a rate that we had set a year in advance. And then after going through, the Agency of Education looks at all of that, all of our expenditures, and they tell us if we can bill back to the sending schools a certain percentage. So with that, it was about $230,000. And then $207,000 more from tuition students than budgeted, so that was the students in the tech center. Again, that overexpended, or we had additional students that we weren't expecting. And then we had budgeted money for our interest income, but because we have such a surplus in our general reserve right now, because we have that much money for the capital reserve projects and it all is housed together, then we received more interest income. We're receiving quite a bit, a really good interest rate right now with our banks. So with that also, and then $72,000 in other revenue sources, and that could be miscellaneous income where we were selling sheds up at the tech center, building use from renting out the PAC Center, which is a performing arts center, things like that. We received $72,000 as well as donations from people who decide to donate. So with that, yes, it's a $5.3 million surplus in FY25 that will be rolling into the capital fund. And then just a little bit of a breakdown of that special ed revenue, because that is quite substantial. So we had budgeted the $1 million and we received $3.653 million. And then on there you can see the dates that we received each one of those payments. So this wasn't anything that we were expecting throughout the year, but last year we had done the report saying that we had quite a few high need students that had moved in. And with that, we were then able to receive back this special ed reimbursement, because it's students who were paying more than, I think it's $66,000 or $67,000 for. We receive a percentage back for them. So we track all those high cost students, whether it's and all costs that is associated with those students. So if it's their transportation or tuition or medical, OT, PT costs, things like that, we can wrap all of those services in and then receive a reimbursement from the state of Vermont. Okay, is this me still? Okay, so things that we are doing to tighten up the budget as well. We're comparing our FY25 actual revenues versus the FY 2026 budgeted revenues. So therefore, we're creating a monitoring system to track all the changes, to track the revenues that we're receiving versus budgeted, so then we can get a better idea as to what we're receiving for revenues. And then we'll be including the revenue reports along with the quarterly expenditure reports. So there's a good transparency of what we're expecting for our revenues versus our expenses. And then we will be showing you the first revenue report for Q2 in January.
This is me.
Okay.
So because we have such a higher fund balance transfer into the capital fund than we've had in previous years, I'm going to recommend to the board that we use some of that money to offset taxes for the next 3 fiscal years. that we take 1.2 million of that 5.3 and use it for fiscal year, for the next fiscal year 2027, and you'll see that that's embedded in the budget presentation tonight. That you reserve another, and that we step down, so we're not doing what the state's been doing. Charlie and I were talking about this the other day. We don't want a steep cliff, that we have revenue all in one year, and we don't have to have it the next year. So we're saying that in fiscal year 2028, we would use 750,000, so there's about a little less than a $500,000 difference there. We might be able to get that if there's a fund balance from FY26, if the board would want to elect to go up to 1.2 mil, or we could step that down. And then you see a step down for the third year to 500,000 or $500,000. So we're trying not to have as big a cliff if it were a one-time, because these are revenues that we're not getting each time, but while we have plenty of building needs, it seems that it's, in my estimation and talking with the leadership team, it seems best to use some of this to offset taxes. And you may say, why $1.2 million? That's 2 cents on the tax rate. That's gonna, you see on the bottom, there's a note there that ed spending, and that's what drives our tax rate, is 1% of ed spending is, I think I might have a zero off there. Probably should be 590,000.
I think so.
I have a zero off, sorry, typo there. So that's, that would get us to the 2 million, to the 1.2 million, and it would be 2 cents. So the next slide, and we'll get that fixed for when we repost this. So the capital fund this year, do you want me to do it? We need to talk about this slide. Do you want me to keep going with this slide?
Sure.
Okay. This is really Bree's work. I feel like I'm presenting your work, but we had about 10 million coming into July 1st. We still have a little over 2 million in obligated expenditures that we haven't. A good example is the fuel oil tank up at Fairfield that's sitting there because we didn't have the fuel line, right? So we have to pay for that. There's other things like that. And then, so that would project the transfer, the fiscal year transfer of that 5.3 million, as Bree went over where that came from. We're gonna take 2,250,000 out for tax relief, which would leave $11,344,098. And I had asked Charlie and Nilda to move the capital fund right behind this, because you're gonna see how we're gonna propose to use that to take care of capital needs in the buildings. So it won't stay there. So that's where we are. Questions?
Joanne?
Have you ever seen this kind of an increase in revenue, let's say, you know, in the past 5 years, past 10 years? Has it ever been this large or this dramatic?
I haven't seen it, no, but I think it's vastly because we had expected the $1 million in the excess costs, and with the amount of students that moved in last year, that's why it's driven up so high. Yes, so because I did look at the previous 5 years of the excess costs, and we were budgeting and receiving right about target every year, and then this year it was an anomaly.
Okay.
So.
Is that the students that Andrea Rasick was talking about when she presented? Okay.
Yes, yep.
Any other?
You said it well, but I want to just reemphasize for the board, in Bree's quarterly expenditure reports, you're going to get revenues at the same time. We're going to give you a couple different columns, what we're projecting and what we received, as you saw that timeline. And tell me if I'm wrong, Bree, but AOE has been getting further and further behind in money coming forward. And I talked to a couple of our municipal colleagues, and they said, we'll be glad you're not in a municipal town government, because it's taking 2 to 3 years to do it as a state.
Well, and we received that last special ed one late because the special ed department was shut down for a time. So that's why it came through so much later, and it wasn't expected.
But we need to be good about projecting those for you and reporting that to all of you.
Any other questions? Thank you, and.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
No. I just read it.
Oh,
Got
okay. Nilda is online, so Nilda, we're, as discussed, moving item 8B after, we're now on item 8B, right after item 6B. And so, next up is item 8B, the capital plan proposal. And I'll pass it right back to you.
Thanks. A lot of this is very similar to, we went over this last meeting, so I tried to cut some slides out of here. But really, I always think it's good in that second slide. Oh, I'll wait for the. All right, on the second slide there, you can just, I think it's just understanding that we just talked about our capital fund and that we use that for their building and a lot of our building long-term maintenance or replacement cycles that are over 10 years for equipment. We have almost $127 million worth of facilities. And I think that it's important just to realize we have a lot. So we use our capital fund, we underfund with our local budget. We use local budget for maintenance and repairs, but we underfund for that. So this capital fund is an important piece. So I took out, you have it in the previous presentation, like what we've done the past few years, what is our capital plan call for 5 years, and I just went right to the next slide, which has the immediate needs that we're bringing forward. So one of the things I didn't have, that we said we were hoping to get in here, and we are able to get in here because of what we know with the capital fund, is the windows on the new hospital on the North Campus at BFA. Those windows are leaking water currently and have been for years, so we really need to attack that. As anyone who knows, we all, in any building, water is the worst thing that can happen. So if we can keep the water out of the building, that really works. So a couple of these are gonna be paid for with food service money, and Bree can explain more of that and how that works. But the grease traps at Fairfield, the HVAC for the cafeteria at Saks, and the grease traps here at SATEC will all be funded through fund balance that we have left in our food program. And she can explain that if people need more details. We talked about that a little last time. The big project that's gonna happen is in this building, especially right here in B Wing, the rooms upstairs. If we have a day that's going over 90 degrees with sun, we're hitting 93 to 95 degrees in those classrooms.
Yeah, I mean, that's BFA too, though, isn't it?
No, we took care of that,
We installed 11, right?
right?
HRU units?
Yeah, I mean, with the HR, everything we did in BFA, we took out the window. We had window air conditioners, you know, we won't see those since last year.
Right.
And so doing that whole piece that we did with the ESSER fund took care of BFA.
Okay.
The next most critical for sun and heat on hot September, August, June days is A wing in this building. But from Derek Madden, who's facilities director, upstairs is the most crucial place. All the HVAC in this, and there are 3 wings in this building, and this wing are all tied together, so we have to attack the whole thing. And it's all well past the end of life. I mean, HVAC systems, at least the ERVs are about 20-year life cycle, and we're well over that. So it's not just cooling, we're gonna be attacking the cooling is actually very cheap compared to all the other work that needs to be done. That's estimated at about $4.4 million just for this building. And it's gonna be a 2-year project. It will be done September 27. It's gonna take a while to do. The other piece is HVAC in Collins Pearly. A lot of that central core area where the weight room, spin room, lobby area is. That one, they've had to shut down the workout rooms during the summer because the cooling that's in the HVAC units will get so, it just gets so thick with humidity that we have such water problems that we have water leaking from it.
Condensation.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't remember my word, Joanne, condensation. So those are the projects. 8.1 million, we're asking you to approve 8.1 million coming from the capital fund, and then 986, close to $1 million from the food service. what would happen is we'd start to issue RFPs and we'd have bids back for Fairfield, because we're gonna take care of an HVAC unit that has PCBs in it. And we're gonna remediate all the PCBs at Fairfield with that unit coming out. That's in the 66 wing, and the Saks, we'd have bids back in March. And then for Collins Purley and we'd have bids back probably somewhere in May or June. And we'd go out to bid for SATEC probably in September, October, somewhere in early fall. But that's a more extensive bid process, because over $2 million, the Agency of Education requires us to pre-qualify contractors. So you can't just go straight out to bid, it's a longer bid process. And we're hoping that project could get started after winter break here. So, that's what I have for you, and what that would do is, we have 11.3 million in the capital fund, that's what we're projecting, this would be 8.1. So we'd be down to about a 3.2 area in the capital fund. And we feel comfortable with that piece, knowing that we have a big building project with the building trades issue at NCTC, and that's currently being investigated, how we could best fix that.
Okay. I'm sorry, Bill, I'm not following the math
That's okay.
properly. So I see the beginning balance is 10.4.
Yeah,
And then you said, I see tax relief, so that would not be added.
no, that's a
to-
negative, that's why it's in
that's-
brackets.
Okay, and so,
Can I just do rough millions for you for a second?
yeah.
Okay, so 10.4 plus 5.3 gets us to 15.7 million.
But isn't the 5.3, isn't 2.2 part of the 5.3? That's where I'm confused. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, we're gonna take it out of there. I'm just showing the additions would get us to 15.7. And then we have a minus
Okay, all right.
2.1. You
With
got
you.
it, you got it,
Got it.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, just couldn't quite.
One thing I do want to say is when we ended the fiscal year last year for Maple Run, the food service fund balance was $1,057,924. So we have plenty of money for the food service projects.
Great.
Yes.
Yep.
Just a procedural question. I neglected to mention that this is a possible action item. Do we need to take a vote on the motion before we continue the discussion?
I think that's up to the chair. You can, we try here to always have the motion go first and then have the discussion, but.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make my, so the administration is recommending a motion to approve the capital plan proposal. I'm going to make that motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second it, come on.
Okay, and so now we can go to discussion. So, any questions or further discussion on the capital plan project?
I'm still just go real quick.
So, my question is, so this is the, what you had listed was 8 million and change.
Yep,
And that's coming out of this 11 million total.
that's correct.
So that leaves us with 3 million and
About
change.
3.2 million.
Okay.
We know that the rough estimate, literally, like, draw out 6,000 square feet, how much per square foot, if we had to totally replace the building trades, is somewhere between $3 and $4 million.
Yeah, and then
But we're trying to get it much more refined on that. That's literally just taking square footage and doing a multiplier of cost per square foot.
and the tax relief is already factored. So after the capital improvements you're recommending, and after the tax relief, if we choose to continue with that in the budget, then that's we have that 3.2-ish
Yeah.
number after.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
I guess just asking the question like around how you make the selections of, because clearly there's lots of projects.
Oh, yeah,
to-
no, I put it in the appendix there, I want you to be
pick-
able to
no,
see that.
Which is great, super helpful. I mean, unfortunately, I, don't have a clear idea as to what each of these things would cost. So
Right.
like, I guess my question would just be, how do you go about making those decisions? What kind of lens are you using? And I know we've talked a lot about equity and making sure that we are also using that as a lens. And are you thinking about that when you're making decisions in terms of what to prioritize?
Great question. So we meet with our 4 facilities directors, 3 are directors, and Albert, who runs Fairfield, along with Laz Skangas, our architect, and Marty Spalding and Tom Yen, who work for PCI, Brianne and myself.
And Tim.
Tim Beans. And we sit, and what they did 4 years ago was we did a tour of the whole district and built a 10 to 15 year capital plan. And they prioritized. I didn't prioritize, they did. And then we have a ranking of all the projects. Sometimes we combine them because we're like, hey, it's better to do, we'll get a better cost to do it because if we combine it. A good example is Fairfield with some of the things we're doing up there.
Yeah.
It was like, if we have a lot of little small projects, it's hard to get a good value for the dollar, so let's put this together.
Yeah.
We did that last year with the work we did up there.
Yeah.
And then sometimes this building hasn't had any work, so you talked about equity. This building has been well maintained for years. But where we hadn't done any projects was here. And then so looking at the priority, it was like SATEC needs SATEC should get some benefit of the district work we have. So that's how it brought this big, and we were ready to go last year with some of it. And what we learned was doing the HVAC here, it's gotta be one big project. So we actually deferred that a year, so we could have a bigger fund balance to be able to do it one big project. And so that's the conversations we have there with that group.
Yeah.
And the principals get to weigh in on that when they see it, when they need to. But I'll have you ask them, but they pretty much defer to their facilities directors because they're, and we've actually started to talk, do we need to redo the tour? Because we've done a lot of work.
Well, and also just like, how is the tour done? Is it based on what work needs to be done? Or like, when I think of an equity point of view, I'm also thinking about what work needs to be done that will enhance or bring the playing field level, you know what I mean, for a certain population, right?
Yeah.
So like when I look at Fairfields and I see that they're the only one that has an ADA access to playground work that needs to be done. So, you know, again, I have no idea what that would cost. I have no idea the scope of work or anything like that needs to be done. But just, you know, I guess that, I just saw that quickly, you know.
Okay.
So I'm just asking about like, not just what needs to be done, but also in terms of the populations that it would serve most, maybe, I guess is the question.
Yeah, so at city school, I mean, that's a good question. At city school, the ADA access to the building was not at the front. Last year, we said, let's put this right up front, let's get a ramp at the front.
Yep.
We're widening doors that we don't need to by ADA code, but there are some students who need wider doors than what's required by code at city school, so we're getting ready to do that.
Excellent.
I would tell you the playground at Fairfield is a really hard project.
Okay.
Because of the grade coming up from the parking lot up to the top of that hill. It actually technically is.
Yeah, we did have a conversation about that one time. I just,
Yeah.
as soon as you said that, all of a sudden I remembered.
It technically is ADA accessible because you can go around a long ways.
Oh, okay.
But that long ways doesn't have hard packed material on
Right,
it.
it's not, okay.
So,
Interesting, okay.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Is there a way for us to have a copy of the capital improvement plan that they?
I gave it pretty much what's on the.
This is, okay.
I mean, we don't have all these we don't price them out because that takes
Okay.
cost to do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't put it in these columns here what the priority rankings are, but it's in a spreadsheet.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's mixed, we have a mixed version, and then we have it by building. I just gave it by building, because I thought that was the
Sounds good.
easiest way
That's
for you to
great.
see it. And that's why we know we need to do it, because our rankings are getting down in the 8s. We did it on a scale of 1 to 10, and everyone ranked, and then we combined it all. And we're getting down to the 8s now, and we're like, might be time to redo it.
Yeah.
It's exciting though.
Yeah, it is exciting. I mean,
It's exciting that
I
we
would
have
say,
the ability to do it.
Yeah, I would say our buildings, from the different districts I've worked in, we rival only one other district I've been in for how we're up to date. I will tell you, BFA has a lot of the need. that
The oldest building.
taking that hospital was a lot more expensive than I think we thought it was going to be.
Now, for the, for the SATEC HVAC system, that's a 2-year project. Is there
Yeah.
gonna be construction work, or is there gonna be work going on during the school year? Or is-
There may be some, but not in student areas. Up in the attics, we may have to block out a side of the building that there's outside work that needs to be done, but we'll make sure it's safe for kids, and that's been done before. And we wouldn't have the construction workers mixing in with the kids. Yeah. We actually have, it's very accessible to the attic from over by the cafeteria gym. There's a stairwell that goes right up to the attic, right from the outside. So it's pretty easy. And we have to replace a lot of piping, so a lot of that work can be done ahead of time, and our ERVs are up in the, are up in the attic, and they vent out through the roof. But it's interesting here because of these peak roofs. It gets a lot harder.
Yeah.
Flat roofs are a lot easier.
Until the snow falls, caves them down if they're, so. Are we ready to take a vote? Looks like we are, so the vote is regarding the administration's recommendation to approve the capital plan proposal in the amount of $8.1 million funded by the capital fund and $986,586 from the food services fund. Susie?
Yes.
Nikuma?
Yes.
Carly?
Yes.
Charlie is yes. Jack?
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes.
Nilda?
Yes.
All right, that motion is approved, and we move forward.
May I ask one more question? Bill, you just brought up sorry, an
Okay.
interesting point about security when you're involved in construction.
Yeah.
And so I know that, SATEC doesn't have an SRO anymore, not that
Yeah.
any of us do. But the safety personnel are primarily at BFA.
We have one here.
You have one here, okay. I was just wondering would we consider, maybe during that time frame to.
So we background check every construction worker that comes on
Fantastic.
site.
All right, next up is item 7A, Vermont Education System Reform Status and Update. With the sub-item of, we just had our delightful event with Franklin County legislators, and see if we've got any reflections on that. Do you have any updates?
I'll start. I've had a bunch of people in the community said they found it really interesting. And they thought it was great that school boards had sat down, and I talked to someone that has been a community member for many, many, many years, decades, and said they can't remember a time that that's happened before, and thought it was worthwhile. They watched it online and were impressed.
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, thank you for doing the legwork. I really appreciate it. It was nice having everybody in the room and because the districts are so different, our population is so different, we get all the same. So it was kind of cool seeing that reflection of from here to Bridgeford, which is so far away, and still having the same issues. So it was nice actually hearing from the other districts. And that people showed up, like public and legislators. That was actually really nice to see that there's public that was engaged there, and that majority of our legislators showed up.
Actually, we had all 13 if you count
Yeah,
online.
yeah.
We had
Which is
all
ama-
13, yeah.
Which is amazing to see, because the engagement was there, so it's great.
I was confused by one thing,
Okay.
or surprised by one thing, I guess I'll say. I was surprised or interested in learning more about how both Franklin Northeast.
Yeah.
And is it Georgia Fletcher, Fairfax, that's also the other supervisory
They're
union?
both supervisory
Okay.
unions, yeah.
I was interested to hear that both of them spoke out in not being in support of supervisory unions. So, and maybe this isn't the time or, place for this, but don't they have the ability to change that? Like, oops.
They do.
So why hasn't that, because that's, yeah, I'm just,
I
I'm
can't give
confused
you
by
the
that
why.
whole situation.
I can't give you the why, but they do. It's
Okay.
complicated. I
Sure.
don't know their articles of agreement.
So you have to go back to the articles of
You have to go back to
agreement.
the articles of agreement
Yeah.
that were drafted in 46 and how they go and approve to become one district.
Right,
They are different structures, and so one of the differences between Act 73 and Act 46, Act 46 was very much a, you have to be the same structure.
yeah, right.
And I mean,
right.
that's what happened with Sheldon, right?
Right.
Why they got moved, because there
Yeah.
were structures over there.
Right.
And so you have to be the same structure. Act 73 that got passed last year is, I think the best way to say it is agnostic to structures. We're putting you together.
Right, right.
And so, and this is Bill's professional opinion, not anything else more than that. The why 46 was there, because no one wanted to tackle the private school tuitioning issue. And Act 73, they started
Is
to tackle that.
starting to address it, okay. Yeah, because I just feel like some of those people were actually around during Act 46.
Yeah.
And I don't remember huge conversations about deciding whether or not to go SU or school district at that point.
Pretty much people.
I just
well,
remember it being more about the side-by-side and, like how they were
Yeah.
going to,
Well, I wasn't here, I was in
Yeah.
Washington Central at that time, but if I recall, was Franklin Northeast and Missisquo's mergers happened because the state forced them?
Missisquoi, yes. I do not believe, I could be wrong, but I
Yeah.
do not believe Franklin Northeast.
Yeah.
But absolutely, Missisquo's.
Yeah, so and the forcing, because I was in the middle of a forced one, superintendent at that time, it was you had to be the same structure.
Yeah.
And there was nothing else, it's
Right.
just like, this is what you're doing.
Right, right. But I mean, the other one had more, I think it's safe to assume that it had more deliberate construction, so
Yeah.
it wasn't forced.
Yeah,
That was the K through 8s wanted to have
Right.
their K through 8 philosophy
yeah,
and whatnot. But it was just surprising.
yeah.
What, and I might be thinking of a different group, but didn't they say that they had tried discussing a merger and basically put it on pause because there was too much uncertainty about Act 73?
Possibly because it's been more recent. I think they were
I
talking
think
more
that
so
was the
about.
Fairfax board said
Or
that.
Fairfax,
Yeah.
Board
Yeah.
chair, she said that.
But they put it on pause because they don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, but that was, I think, because it was a more recent conversation, not originally.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
A couple things from my observation, a few things. I really liked the moderator. He didn't have was upfront about not knowing all the details of what was being discussed, but I thought it was very good at moderating the flow of the conversation. I really liked that the legislators seemed to be, taking notes and paying attention and were honest about the stuff they didn't know. And I really appreciated the public standing up and saying that they like education in Vermont and basically asking them not to break what's working. And I thought the teachers, like Vermont teachers, got a kind of a big vote of approval from the public that spoke. Any other observations or reflections?
There's a good article in the upcoming Messenger. I've read it online, but it'll be out, I forget when it comes out, Friday. So it has a picture, Charlie standing there giving a presentation. My wife says I have kind of a stern look on my face for some reason. But, so it got highlighted in the local media, which is good.
And there's some online discussion about that article already, so.
I think to help maybe answer your question, Joanna, you had to vote to do it, and I think that in FWSU it would have been a loss for some of the schools to have to attend the high school. And I think that's why, one school.
FNESU.
No, in Fairfax, Fletcher, Georgia.
Oh,
So that one,
FW, okay.
some schools get to choose, and that one of them is a
Oh, yeah.
private school, and I think that's why, and I
Absolutely.
think,
Absolutely, I agree.
it's unfortunate, cause one of the schools loses out on a lot of money, and I don't think it's really equitable to have the funds go to privates, but that's my opinion, and that's definitely a big part of it.
Which really goes back to and for me, like the big theme was if we all work together.
Right.
And not try to protect all of our little teeny tiny special interests.
Right.
Because the reality is that we live in a state that doesn't even have 1 million people, right? We are a special interest. We don't need to, go down even smaller than that because you miss out.
Right.
And,
I think that's really
we
well
need
evidenced.
to work together
And
to.
like our budget and our capital fund, and like when because we are a bigger district as compared to a K-8 school that doesn't have a lot of people. So,
Right.
two of our schools are bigger than some of those districts are. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so we're in between, the legislative session hasn't started, the task force finished their work, so I'm assuming there's no more further updates on education.
Not on the task force, but if the board so chooses, we can either keep this on as what, things will start getting going at the beginning of the next month. And they go into a session, I'd have to check, but I think it's the 6th or the 7th. The legislature comes back into session for the second year of the biennium. If we wanted to keep this on, we could, or I could just keep updating you and Nilda, and we could decide when we wanted to put it on as things are happening in the State House.
I think the place marker's nice.
Sorry.
But
I like having the place marker there, because if there's not an update, there's not an update, we just move forward. But if there is an update, then we can discuss it.
We have made some stands and, given our opinion as a collective publicly. I don't know if it would be appropriate, but in lieu of this meeting, would it be beneficial if we surmised our experience from that event and make another statement about our reflection on it? Just so they can, and maybe even ask the other SUs and school districts if they would want to write something, maybe even something collective to share.
I think you could. I think that's the will of the board. And you want to go there, thank you.
But, you laughing at me?
No, she
No,
went
the
close the
hallway.
door,
Shut the
because the
door.
kids,
It was too
kids
loud.
for
Yes.
basketball.
Because she's closer to being a mom, like earlier. I just tuned it out.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But I think you could. I mean, I think that's a
I mean,
discussion
like,
use the board. We should
let's
actually
not
do it.
lose this momentum
Yeah.
of, of this conversation that happened and see if people would be interested in writing a joint, because then we're talking about it from a county point of view, Could be really powerful.
I think so.
I think so too.
If someone wanted to sum up, and we could get you a copy of the minutes Aaron was the one taking them, of like, what we see in common across all these boards is this, and you wanted to bring that to the next meeting. I think even in between, if you wanted Charlie, Nilda, or myself to ask the others if they felt, if they wanted to receive something like that. I know at one point, Ms. Siskoy was sending contacts to the different boards, and we were waiting on that. So we've had this now, and if this board wanted to go in that direction, you could, and say, we'd like to make a summary statement. We told this to our Franklin County delegation, and you could send that to them again, or you could send it to all members of the House and Senate and say, this is where Franklin County school boards are.
I think it's very good.
I think it would be really important to send those letters to the House and Senate.
Yeah.
Especially in light of what John Collins was saying about how Governor Scott kind of tends to sabotage us in a really timely way at a really critical point in the budget season, right before town meeting day. Just saying.
Yeah.
I have something.
So what would the procedure for that be? We would need to write up something that we would approve as a board? Or would we talk to the other boards first?
I think you can kind of do it simultaneously. You could, if this board so choose to have you and or Nilda send an email to the boards and say, we're considering drafting a summary of what is in common, not what's separate. I think that I'd take the easy road, what's in common that we heard. Here are the minutes. Would you sign on with us? So we'd like to get all the boards, the 7 boards of Franklin County, to say this is what our combined position is, so that as a result of meeting with our legislators.
I think taking the commonality is really important, because I think people see it as very different, because we're so vast. And pointing out the commonalities between SUs and districts is really, like, the struggles we're having and whatnot.
Yeah, I think those folks know that, don't they?
Yeah, I feel like when you like look at the media, they're kind of like pushing people apart. Talking about SUs and the districts and whatnot, but the truth is we're all having the similar struggles, no matter which structure we have. And I think making sure that we make that statement, that we're all in this together type thing, I think it's a really good idea, especially to bring it to all the legislators, not just our delegation.
So what I could do is I could work with Aaron, we can get the minutes together. I could draft some bullets for you, Charlie, or for Nilda, to send to the other chairs and say, is there interest in this? So that and hopefully we get a response before the next meeting, and if there was, we could bring a draft and send a draft to them and say, would we all be interested? Would your board resolve to approve that?
Nilda?
This is Nelda. Yeah, I'd be happy to work on that with whomever.
Thank you, Nilda.
So, you and Aaron will pull together the bullets and,
We'll look for some of the commonalities. I may ask for some help from some of you
Sure.
to say, did we get it right? And then give that to Nilda, and I'm sure between she and Charlie, they can send some emails.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good idea.
as that gets underway, Nilda, just let me know what you need from me. Any other discussion about the event on the 11th or education reform? We move on to item 7B, the second draft of the budget with preliminary revenue. Bree, I believe it's back in your court.
Yes.
I
Okay.
can put your name on the title side, Bree, I'm sorry.
Right. No,
It
you're
should
fine.
be on this.
We know who's
This
really.
is the right one that we're.
This is the right one.
Okay, sorry, I printed everything out, so I had it here in front of me, and I have it a little scattered. So, okay, so here's the budget context. So if we go to the next slide. So, looking at the budget, these are our 5 goals that we have established. And when creating the budget, we are looking at these 5 goals. The whole leadership team has sat down and talked about this. I still haven't completely sat down with every single administrator to go over the FY27 budget, but this is a good idea as to where we're looking to go. So, is
This hasn't changed. This is the return on investment slide.
Okay,
And I haven't had a chance to update it since we showed it to you at the last meeting. So, I guess just upload.
so moving on. And then, again, this is from the last meeting as well, the theory of change, as well as the success measured board. Do you want to add anything to this?
Aaron, we were able to update this.
The next slide.
The next slide, okay, so this is the previous success measures that you saw in the last one, but at that same time, that same meeting, Alexis and Megan were here presenting the updated data, so we thought we'd put that in here, which is this 3-year, the one that says Success Measures Board 3-year change is now including the fall data from 2025. And as you can see, our biggest change that still continues to today, or last week when I was in Panorama, is that our attendance, we're getting much better attendance rates, and that to me is an outcome of the belonging and the kids feeling safe at school, so, and having them here, so.
Yeah.
I'll just go over that briefly because we stated a lot. Yep.
Yeah.
And then we have projected enrollment for next year. And as I said on this one, this year we lost 74 average daily membership students across, almost all of those from the city. And we're projected to increase the high school next year, but decrease the pre-K 8s. And so we also have, as you saw, 127 more students in poverty, and that biggest gain is in the town, not in the, that's where the poverty is increasing the fastest. So,
Is
yeah.
that math score an error, or was that because of a change in assessment?
We
or
had some change in
evaluation?
assessment, there's some stars on the math score.
Okay, it went from 5% to 32, so.
Right, and
that's the change. Okay.
we did some changing, we also started using for fall '24, we used the VCAP assessments because we were having problems with our local assessment. If you remember last year, we had a math assessment system, we determined halfway through the year it wasn't valid for what we wanted, so we are using the STARS assessment this year, and we're already finding a lot of great use out of it for kids. These were priorities from the forum, so I'm just kind of we asked you to rank the goals in case we had to go into some deep cuts, priority areas to look at, and questions you had. So, like I said, I'm going through these kind of quick, 'cause we had these in the last meeting. So, I'm trying to get to the draft 2. And then leadership team, what we focused on, which was keeping as many programs as possible, supporting high levels of instruction across all tiers, I should probably say there. Continue our climate work, because we're really seeing that pay off now. Using class size policy to balance the instructors between the high school and the pre-K 8 schools, and making cuts in non-instructional areas if possible. We did a lot of our reductions before we got to staff, were in the non-instructional areas. So. Do you want
When
me
you
to-
say non-instructional areas, could you be more specific, or you're not comfortable with that at this time, which is fine?
So
Just asking.
with some of the cuts of the non-instructional, so one, we're seeing the savings of the bonds pay down from city school, that's finished now.
In central office.
That finishes this year.
That finishes this year.
Yes. So yes, for next year, that won't be in there. Another thing is tightening up on the transportation because the students aren't going on as many field trips as they have before in the past. And we were inflating the full transportation account lines for multiple years. So then, again, this isn't as tight as, or we've tightened it up even more. And then we did cut money out of the building improvement lines because we are using a substantial amount of the capital improvement, or the capital reserve fund balance.
But in terms of positions, no positions.
So as we get into draft 2,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yes.
Great.
Okay. So draft 2, as we've mentioned, we are taking the $1.2 million from the capital reserve, and we're gonna put it in as revenue to lower down the amount of that we're going to request for taxpayers. We have lowered the total expenditures down to $80,972,283, which is going to show us a 4.13% increase over last year's expenditures. So we will be cutting one position from the budget from last year, but this is an open position right now that we have not filled yet. And then, as Bill just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, we have lost students, but with the poverty level that St. Albans Town is seeing, we are actually showing an average daily membership to be increasing. So right now, because this hasn't been solidified, the long-term weighted average daily membership, right now we're showing a number of 4,069.36 students. It has the potential to change again once it's finished. I I'm suspecting that it'll go up a little bit again.
Is that because of weighted students?
Yes, yep. Yes, because
I've got a question about that, just
you have a question about it?
about weighted students.
Okay.
So let me know when I can ask my question.
Ask it right
I don't
now.
want to interrupt you. Oh, at the recent School Board Association meeting, there were several superintendents from around the state who were passionate about how weighted students, the concept has really affected their budget
Yep.
in the negative. And I didn't know whether that was happening to us as well.
We're going the opposite direction.
Yeah,
Yep,
so the weighted students can go up or down depending on
absolutely.
whether you can take advantage of it, because it'll identify where you have students that are gonna be more expensive to work with, so
Correct.
that helps your budget.
Right,
But if you have not as many in another district, okay, so
yeah.
Yeah,
I was just wondering if it hurt or helped us, and it helps us.
Right now, it's helping us.
Yeah,
Yes.
got it.
I will tell you that I've been called by a couple of superintendents because in general in Vermont, the poverty is going down. We are not. And so they're asking, like, one of the things that was pushed by the federal government a couple years was
Yeah.
going out and like pushing hard on free and reduced lunch forms to be done.
Yes.
And they're like, what'd you do? And we have automatic certification, which is really what's doing it for us,
Yep.
which is, and so that's how it's going up for us. We're pretty good about getting forms out and promoting that in all the schools, but it's the forms for us because the number of families that are automatically certified.
Well, and next year's gonna change again,
Yeah.
you know, with
Yeah.
health insurance
Yep.
and, you know,
Oh, yeah.
it's
That's
gonna
gonna
drastically
change all the
Constantly.
time.
Can you
Yeah.
explain what automatic certification is?
So I'm gonna hand that to Bree because she's good with
So
automatic
if they-
certification, better than I am.
If a family qualifies for SNAP benefits, or the Vermont EBT, they will automatically qualify for, the poverty levels for the free and reduced lunch. That will then, you know, give their, weighting a little bit more of a 1.0, weight. And I don't know exactly what each qualifier is for a weight. But like I know, like an English language learner student, they are weighted definitely substantially higher than just a quote-unquote regular student. So a student who doesn't fall within free and reduced lunch and is between,
So there's different
5
weights,
through 8,
yeah,
right?
so free and reduced lunch is a weight of 1.03, so that gets added on to the 1.0,
Yes.
the 1.0 for a student.
yes,
And a student that is an English language learner,
I think it's 2.44.
it's around 2.3 to 2.4 that's
And-
added on.
They can stack, right?
Yeah, it stacks,
Yes.
it's added
Yes.
for each student.
Right, so
And
then
then-
if they
and there are
also
some
have
grade
free and
level
reduced
pieces.
lunch, thank you. If they also have free and reduced lunch, then they're weighted even
That-
higher.
even higher.
Yes, so, yeah, with that, this year, so Maple Run received a $50,000 grant for if you had less than 25 students, who are qualifying as English language learners. We are now at 30 students, so that we have grown in English language learner students, so we don't qualify for that grant any longer. But that's an uptick, and then that's also increasing our average daily membership. So, I mean, it can help, but then it also can limit other things on the other side as well.
When people talk about the complexity of Vermont's education funding system, this is where it's so complex. When I look at other states,
Yeah.
there are weights, but it's an easier way to do it. It's not like this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are the highlights of the budget. Do you want to
Yeah.
go into the next?
So
budget
with that,
itself?
before we move on real quick, and it'll show in the next slide too. So the estimated educational spending per long-term weighted average daily membership, it's going to be $14,738, which is down 1.8%. Yes,
And that's what shows up on the ballot measure, right?
exactly. Yep,
Yeah, so on the ballot, there'll be that spending per long-term weighted average and a negative 1.8%.
correct. Yes. So on here, you will see that what I just stated a little bit quickly, that we are estimating that our budget will be $80,972,283, which is that 4.13% increase over FY26 information. So we're looking at about $21 million in local revenues to then ask for $59,972,283 from the Agency of Education Fund Reserve, which is a 2.08% increase over FY26's numbers. Again, that long-term weighted average daily membership is an increase of 3.95% of 4,069.36. But our estimated per pupil spending is decreasing from $15,007 to $14,738. And then down below a little bit further is the wages. So we're estimating that 52.2% of the budget will be wages of $42 million and change. That is a 4.1% increase over FY26. The health insurance and related costs, that is going up this year as 13.8% for $10,051,555. The employee benefits, which is like dental, workers' comp, long-term disability, life, that is going up 14%. Some of that is due to the dental rates increasing for us as well as the workers' comp. So of $6 million, $8.5 million. Contracted services, that's showing in at a little over $6 million. Tuition, transportation, and property services, we're estimating $8.5 million, which is a 6.7% increase over last year's amount. We're hopeful that we can tighten that line up a little bit more as we're working on hopefully pulling some more students from out-of-district placements and putting them in to our district. I know Alexis was talking about that at a meeting a couple meetings ago, that there's talk about it, but right now we're still estimating those students to be outplaced. So once we get them put into our district, then we can adjust those numbers more. And then supplies and equipment, that's at almost $3.7 million. And then other duties and fees is dropping substantially due to loan payments being paid off or bonds paying off at $1.7 million. Things that we still don't know is the tech center per pupil, or the tech center cost that we are going to incur. That is still forthcoming from the Agency of Education, along with the tech center 6-semester pupil counts. We have not received the IDEAB grant allocation and transportation aid as well. And the FY25 allowable tuition rate, that document just got sent out about 5 o'clock tonight, and I have not had a chance to look at it yet. So, yeah. Are there questions on this slide before we move on? Yeah, John.
So, does the participation in benefits increase or decrease from last year? Like, are the employees subscribing to benefits
Yes.
that would, I'll use the term benefit us if they,
Yeah.
you have a single teacher rather than a family plan or whatever?
Yes. So it's looking like we are spending more in the health insurance field, and I think more staff that we have hired this year have come on to the insurance opposed to taking that cash in lieu. I know when I was budgeting for the open positions that we have, I did put all of those people on as family plans, just because I'm not sure what we're going to take, or what those people will be taking
Right.
for benefits. Yes. Okay. So in here is a very long list of the summary of expenditures, and I'm very sorry that it's so tiny. So on here, you'll see that it's the FY '25 actual expenditures, the FY '26 working budget, and then FY '26 actual and encumbered expenses. So that would be somebody's salary who's encumbered for the rest of the year, or what has actually been paid out to those people. Along with like our busing transportation contract, that's already encumbered in here. But if there's field trips that have not been encumbered, they're not listed in here. Some things to mention are some of our unfilled positions are not encumbered in this listing. And some of the positions, and so coaching, stipends, things like that, especially for the spring, have not been encumbered yet. And then FY '27 is the proposed budget, so then we can see where the changes are from one year to the other year. So the pre-K, they are having an increase of 54.31% change over the previous year, where they had $1 million budgeted, and we're proposing $1.5 million for their for that line. Some of the things to highlight are the extra and co-curricular. That is actually seeing a decrease. One of the things for that is the 21st Century Grant is going away. Or that's what they're proposing is happening, is that it's going away. So that's a $72,000 reduction right there. Another one to highlight is the curriculum services. We receive title funds, so we would pay quite a few stipends out of those title funds. With the reduction in the title funds, we're then reducing some of those stipends in those areas. And then some more is the long-term debt that's getting reduced by 31.59% due to city school and the central office being paid off on those amounts. And adult ed, that is seeing a slight decrease due to us reconfiguring Lisa DeRocher, assistant director of the tech center and adult ed. Looking at her duties, it doesn't fully qualify, or her FTE doesn't fully qualify into that adult ed position. So we just changed around the FTE a little bit for that. Are there any questions on this page before we get to special ed and NCTC?
So far, we're good.
Okay.
Nice changes.
What's that?
I said they're nice changes.
Perfect. So special ed and NCTC. So in here, you'll see that there's a 21.24% decrease in the ECP section of here. But you'll see on the other side, there was the 54. So it will even itself out a little bit. And it could just be the way that some staff members are funded in one budget over the other budget. Direct instruction, that's up a little over 5% from the previous FY '26 working budget. Another decrease is the special administration or special ed administration, director's assistant supplies. That's down just a little bit, and that I believe is due to some contracted services that were in there. And we're estimating that it's going to be about a 6% increase for the student transportation as we're going out to bid very shortly for the transportation for next year. And then the tech center, they don't have much of changes where they are going up 6.8% in their direct instruction. Their indirect services, I am budgeting as the same amount that we budgeted for last year because FY '25 came in a little bit lower. So really looking at those funds to make sure that the tech center is paying their fair share and we're not overinflating what it should be. And then their transportation, I level funded that for this coming year. Yes.
Is the back to the student supports, the behavior, personnel, occupational, physical therapists, is that because
Yes.
you've had to contract out that it's had more than, I guess a significant increase?
Yes, yes. Yep. Any other questions? Okay. Then on to revenues. Okay, so in FY '25, these are I have listed the actual revenues and then the adopted budget for FY '26. What we've received so far in FY '26, so if there's additional state payments and things like that, those will not be reflected in here yet. And then the FY '27 proposed budget. I'm going to throw a huge caveat in here that FY '27, there's a lot of numbers that are mimicking FY '26 adopted budget because we haven't heard from the Agency of Education what those numbers should be. So a lot of them are best guesses at this point. So a few of them, for instance, would be the, let's look.
Bree, are you getting that information later this year than you
Yes.
have in the past?
Yes. So, like I said, there were a few that, or one email that came out today, and then a couple of other emails that came out yesterday, so I wasn't going to change around the budget presentation for that. But the tech center numbers, those just came out yesterday, where they should have been out probably 2 weeks ago. So they're having a staffing shortage there, so getting the information it's been a little difficult.
Yeah.
Have they loosened up on the times and dates in which your stuff is due to them?
So, well,
You don't have to answer that.
one report was supposed to be sent out to all the schools, and we got an extension for the rest of this week to get it out to all the other schools. So, yes, it's been a little bit rough. So I level funded the revenue for the tech center, so that's going to be an in and out in the system. The SAP grant, which is Student Assistant Program Grant, we received typically $60,000 in the past, so I'm budgeting that we're going to receive $60,000 again in FY '27. And then you'll see in here that some of the grants, Title 2, 4, and school-wide program is going to show as a $0 that we're receiving for grant funds because we don't know what the status of it is, along with 21st Century and English language learners. This state transportation aid, I boosted that up $5,000. Not sure where we're going to land on that, especially because those funds are a 2-year average of the state transportation. So what else? So the excess cost income. So this is special ed services that Maple Run is providing to students that are from students that are coming from sending schools. So Sheldon and Georgia. We are able to bill excess costs for those students. And so we're estimating that we'll receive about $400,000. In FY '25, we received $470,000. The special education block grant, we did receive what we are going to get for that amount. So I was able to actually put in that solid concrete number. The extraordinary reimbursement, so we had received $3.65 million. In FY '26, I had budgeted $2 million because that's what we received in FY '24. And so with that, receiving that much more, I am bumping it up to $2.5 million. But that number again is subject to change. I am working with Renee Patterson, who's the special ed admin assistant, and she is creating a spreadsheet which shows the students who are receiving the excess cost for special ed, so we can have a more concrete number for what we're expecting to receive, so we don't have such a surplus on those funds. And then IDEAB grant, this year's allotment is $966,000, so that's what I'm mimicking for for FY '27 as well. And then the tech center, so I'm increasing that from $1.8 million to $2 million. The state tuition assistance grant, we're increasing that from $750,000 to $825,000. And then because the tech center, the building trades, they're typically the ones who receive the most program income. They're working down on Lower Weldon Street, building a house. So I'm not expecting that we're going to receive as much income from the sheds that they have been building. So you'll see in here that the program income, I am showing $20,000 for that. And hopefully they make a little bit more, but we never really know what it's going to be. So with that, it's tying back to the $80,972,283 for revenues. Any questions? Okay.
We've got the FY '26 received, are we on track to, are there any unpleasant surprises where we're not getting the revenue that, or like, we're not on track to get the revenue that you were expecting?
Not that I'm seeing yet, so yes, but you know, as Bill and I have talked, the Agency of Education is behind on sending payments sometimes, so we're hopeful that it's not going to happen, but we are definitely tightening down our tracking on it as well. Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the first draft of the budget, which was presented at the last meeting. One thing I did want to point out, excuse me, is underneath the wages where it has the number of professional staff, there's an asterisk, because at the last meeting, I gave you the wrong numbers, and I had pointed that out when I was presenting it. So these are now the updated numbers as to what those should be. Just wanted to highlight that, but if there's no questions, we'll just move on from this one.
And it doesn't have to be today, now, or anything like that, but maybe it would be helpful just to know what it was, maybe the past 5 years, you know, how.
Staffing numbers?
Just in terms of our population and our staffing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Becky can do that too with a personnel report that we can either, it's in tonight's, but Charlie and Miller and I talked about whether we do it tonight or another one. We could add that as a graph of, we've given that in the back in November. I had that graph that has over the years.
Yep.
Are you looking for a breakdown as well by?
I think this is perfect.
By the.
I can pull this.
Yeah, we know I know
Yeah.
exactly where those are on the
Yeah,
system.
great.
So I'll do it from every approved budget that we have of what we had listed for staffing numbers, and then plug it in that way.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. That's easy.
So I was gonna take this piece. I wanted to explain, we just presented you 4.13% increase on the expenditure, and that's down 1.8% on net spending. The board asked us for a 4%, a 5%, a 4%, and a 3% budget. As we talked about at the last meeting in the first budget, we had cuts in there for staff. There, in the 4.13 that Bree just presented to you, there's one unfilled teacher position that's a cut. There are no other cuts for either unfilled positions or actually filled positions. So I will tell you, with that only one cut, we still couldn't use, there would be one classroom that we don't need via the board's class size policy. So there's a way you can read the policy. If you look for the minimal number of students, it will tell you the maximum number of classrooms. Or if you look at the maximum number of students, it will tell you the minimal number of classrooms that you need. So if we use the minimal number of students per classroom, for the maximum number of classrooms, we need to have 2 fewer classrooms to stay within the policy. As I talked to my colleagues, especially the principals, I checked in because this is happening at the pre-K-8s. They're like, we can use those teachers for interventions and other things, but we don't need the classrooms because of that size. If we were to eliminate those 2 classrooms, you can see it would be a 3.8 those two positions, it'd be a 3.89% budget. At 2%, a little over 2% down on ed spending, it really doesn't change the tax rate. And then what we gave you last time at the 5% budget, we had 7 teachers. We can go all the way to 11 classroom reductions if we max out the class sizes. And so that's what we were doing. We had the 5, 4, and 3 at the first draft, because we're trying to figure out how we get there. But then after looking, the good news that we've gotten on long-term weighted average, that's really counteracted a lot of that work. So we still have cuts in non-classroom areas. Bree was talking about that. The other thing I would add on there is we're finding efficiencies in our district-wide programs that we weren't accounting for before, so we were able to lower those area costs that are not affecting personnel. So with all of that, that's how I don't wanna say that 4.13 is level service, because there's some things we're not going to be doing, but we're not cutting positions. It's one position that's unfilled right now.
And Bill, when you're talking about changing the amount of professional staff that we have based on class size, is that looking at a single year? Or is that looking at like a 3-year or 5-year plan?
So you can look at, if we went back all the way to the class, at those enrollment projections, our class sizes at each school are not moving that much. So the total grade, number of kids in the grade might go up or down maybe 5 kids, but they're staying very steady once we have that cohort in. And so we're looking at that and saying, what's that projection look like for the next year?
Okay, so it's not, like, I know that some years that there are blips, right?
Right.
You have like.
But as you get into larger buildings, which we have,
Yes,
you have less blips,
okay,
because you have more classrooms per
right, it would be
per
more of an
grade
issue
in a smaller
in
school.
Fairfield, okay.
Yep. And Fairfield is the one of the, I mean, this is happening in
The
town
most
and
steady
city.
population, yeah.
City is actually having the biggest decline. Fairfield is staying very stable.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't give you any of the reasons why. People have asked me, like, why are kids going away? I'm like, I don't know. You know, with the homeschool population staying steady, that's not going up or down. We just don't have the kids.
Yeah, okay.
I wish I knew why.
Last time we had, with the 5% budget you presented, there were a lot of cuts in the summer programs.
Yeah.
Are those still in
So we
here,
have some
or-
summer programs cuts. We wanna confirm, we've gotten differing opinions on what's happening to 21st century
Okay.
from different sources. So, Carly probably knows better than I do.
I don't really know anything. She's like,
Sorry, I know it's in your, you
She's
look
like,
for
I
a
know
professional in that area.
It's such a small, I mean, our budget is so different
Yeah.
than your after school budget.
Right.
Yeah.
We see benefits? I mean, our student data shows it, is that for kids who need access to high quality activities, that's where we're seeing, you could go look at all our fall data. I've read a couple of books on like education is closing the gap when the kids are within school.
Absolutely.
The data shows that nationally, we can show it here in Maple Run. You see it where we have gaps, you'll see significant differences in the fall. What happens in the spring in Maple Run? They go away, right? If we could have a way of having 12-month school, I would do it. I don't know how to do it budgetarily, where kids could actively be engaged. And it doesn't mean, I'm not saying traditional 6.5 hours classroom, but actively engage in learning.
Yeah.
Because kids that are done, where that's done for by their family, they beat that curve. And for families that don't have that, and that's well proven in research and many studies and in meta-analysis. So, not that I wanna cut summer programs, but when we talked as a leadership team, what's the core of what we do? And that was an area that we're reducing. We're not cutting them, but we're reducing them. And if there's a way we can bring them back, we will, but we're not putting that in the budget.
So are the cuts that showed up in the 5% model last time?
Yep.
Are they about equivalent to what is in the.
Except for the
4.1%.
except for the personnel. So anything that was non-instructional in those
Okay.
cuts, right, Bree, we left that in this 4.1. We brought the personnel back, that was our first place.
Yep.
When Bree and I were talking, I was like, I wanna bring the positions back.
Okay.
So when you say you're reducing it, are you reducing the amount of students who will be serviced? Are
So
you
it-
reducing the amount of hours? What-
So at the last meeting, we were talking about, we would support our students that are in poverty that qualify for free and reduced lunch, for summer programs, and/or, will also be, open doors at city school will be, could be reduced some there as well, the number of programs that we have.
Other questions, thoughts? I guess, what do you need from us?
If you said, I wanna say this, I feel very confident with that 4.13. I actually think our revenues I'm optimistic that they'll be better, and that will even drive lower that, ed spending number, either through long-term weighted average, as Bree said, we expect that number to climb a little bit. It's getting closer and closer to locked in, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
I mean, it's not swinging as much as it was. We've seen several versions of it. So I think that's gonna help us some, and I'm hopeful of a couple of the revenues we don't know, that we'll know in January. But if the board said, hey, we like that 4.13, stay at that budget right now, we'd like to stop bringing you other versions. I'll tell you, for the other two, we didn't there isn't a budget done out. Bree's building one budget, it's just this, because all the, administrators and leadership team work together, we have our cut list and our priorities. If the board were to say be lower than that, I feel very confident going in with a budget ballot of this. And one of the things I would tell you, if we didn't have the $118 million buyout or buy down of taxes by the legislature last year, Fairfield would probably be around a 0% increase in tax rate, and town would be up probably about 2%. I'm doing it off percentages, I'm not doing it off of hard numbers, so I'm calculating percentages in my head.
So previously it had been something like 7.4 if we stayed level services.
Yeah.
And that 4.1, and like over 4% of that came from the state's buy down of taxes.
Yeah.
And so hypothetically, if the state
Bought down the same amount.
well, I really don't want to say buy down out loud, because I really don't want them to buy them down again unless they have something sustainable in mind. But if they do that, then this comes out to basically a level tax rate and almost,
Or negative.
yeah,
The reason the city is because of the reassessment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big piece right there. This is the first year. We saw it with Fairfield, its first year too,
Yep.
so.
and this budget is with the assumption of the 1.2 million use of capital funds,
Yeah.
which require a future meeting for us to vote on that, correct?
I need to look at that, Charlie. I didn't research that for tonight, and I also have to I wanna look at the ballot language. I've read it, just yesterday. I want our attorney to give me an opinion on whether you need different ballot language or that ballot language, cause it allows you to use it for operational uses. Is this considered an operational use? Because I'd want the board to be transparent with the voters. But we'll get that answered for you before the next meeting. And I would say, and Bree, you tell me, you talk to your colleague business managers, but I would say more than half the districts in Vermont use their fund balance towards reducing taxes.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I've talked to
Sorry.
a lot of superintendents, they're doing some sort of that. We've been able to stay away from that.
So I'm sorry, I wasn't here at the last meeting.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to understand the decision-making around the summer program. So I heard you say that you you reduced it. Now, am I looking at 21st Century Grant Program track?
Yeah.
Is that the summer program? Okay.
Yeah. That's
So-
part of it, it's not the whole thing.
That's
Right.
part of it, okay.
It's part of it.
So you're saying you reduced it from 88 to 75?
Yep.
For next year. And you think that that's going to be focused in on the summer end? And you're saying, I just want to make sure I'm hearing you properly. And you're saying that you are going to prioritize students on free and reduced lunch, basically. And then what was the second part of what you said, please? You said we're prioritizing our students in poverty, and then you said one more thing.
At the 21st Century program, because that happens at one school, it happens at Scooty School, there may be some program offerings that will be reduced.
Some program offerings that would be reduced, not academic support that would be reduced. Or are you saying, because I know that they do other summer camp type things to kind of draw students in.
So there's summer and then there's after school. So when I talk about programs, I'm talking about after school time. And so I'm sorry, Joanna, I just don't know exactly what happens in the program for
Yeah.
academic support
Yeah.
versus a lot of it's program,
I
it's
don't
not
think
really.
there is a lot of that, because I get the flyer that
Yeah,
comes
okay.
home. I think it's mostly like, there's like this
Reading.
school play.
Yeah.
There's like a dance club, there's like a couple of craft activities that happen once a week. But I didn't see anything for like academic
Yeah, or if there's a
enrichment.
sometimes there's like
There might
20
be, like,
minutes of
drop-in
like
homework.
drop-in homework.
But-
That we'd always have that. What I'm talking
Right.
about is instead of 5 activities a week, we might be able to run 3.
Okay, okay.
When I say
And then,
reduce
but nothing to change for like EYP and, like the whole special ed?
Oh, no,
Those
we
are
can't
separate.
touch
Right,
that.
that's
That's all
totally
funded through
separate.
special education.
Okay, so
Yeah.
summer program is really in terms of it just being protective factors for students, right? But it's not losing any, because there are there not some students that receive like summer academic programming?
If they qualify and it's written into their IEP.
Only EYP, okay.
Yeah, not through the like 21st century.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have our partnership that we run with the rec department through St. Albans, and that's actually found to be.
Right.
And Black Creek, and those two
Yep.
are more economical than our 21st
Yes.
century.
Yeah. Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Yeah.
So,
I just need a sense of the board where they are at and where you are. I mean, we are missing a few people tonight, so we don't have everyone on the board, but if that 4.13, that's what we would work on sharpening, but there's not a lot of, unless you think differently, Bree, I don't think there's a lot of big changes coming to that.
I don't suspect that at all, so.
Tax rates are, I mean, CLA's in, we're used to previous years of not getting that to January 1st, but we have that, so that's all programmed in here in tax rates and all that.
we don't need an action, we just need sort of consensus on how we're gonna advise.
That looks good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the 4.13, and I will continue to beat the drum that something should be done about the state buy down on a legislative level, because we're basically coming up with a very responsible budget and putting it back to the state of the tax increases what you guys created. Hopefully you'll be able to find a solution.
Great. It would be great to see without the 1.2 that we're gonna put in, you know what I mean? Just in terms of
So I can
marketing.
I can give you some rough estimates, because we took
Oh, right,
that
just
2%.
2 cents, right?
2%.
2 cents.
Which is 2 cents. Yep. So it's gonna be, it would be a 2 cent
All right,
increase
so
across
that
the
would
board.
be 3.1, right? So
Thanks,
I mean,
Jill.
it would just be great, just
Yeah.
marketing wise in
Yeah,
terms
that's
of
what's-
educating folks.
A little bit how we got that number.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Next up is item 7C, board meeting schedule.
Yes.
And we have just a tweak that needs to happen in January.
Yes, we do. We had moved the January, as you all know, we have meetings on the first and third Wednesdays. We, back in June, was it? I'm looking to Aaron. May or June of last year, we asked to go earlier in January 14th. But I'd like to suggest that if it works on everyone's schedule, that we move it back to the 21st of January. So we should be fine in making everything for for getting the documents produced. You may, and you hope, I'm kind of hoping, crossing my fingers, that the board will be good with the budget on the 7th and we can adopt there. Because I don't think there'll be anything new after that, Bree, kind of knowing the schedule.
So you're saying 7th and 21st?
7th and 21st, if we could go back to the 7th and 21st, that'd be very helpful.
That'd be better for me.
I don't know if that has any problem for anyone's schedule? Okay.
I might have a conflict, and hopefully we'll have already passed the budget, but I knew there's no Wednesday in January where I don't have a conflict, so I'm good with suffering in that regard.
Okay. All right, so thank you all. We'll move it back to the 21st.
Great.
All right, it's about a bit after 7:30. We're going on to new business. Item 8A is the student enrollment and staff detail. Are we good to go to continue that, or are we starting to flag and need to table that? Seeing no one, I guess let's continue on. So Becky, I believe.
Hello. Hello. I am pleased to share with you some updated staff information. Do we have that? Thank you. The next slide, please. You revisited.
I'm looking at the agenda on my phone.
Oh, gosh, okay.
and
What you'll see here
ring
are
doorbell.
our
Sorry about
three sets of data. It's a year-over-year comparison, FY '18 through FY '26 of our professional staff, teachers, our ESPs, our non-union, and our administrators. As you glance down this list, you'll notice that FY '25, I've highlighted in orange, in that darker orange. It's static. It's without any TBH that you had seen last year. The next lighter orange, two lines are FY.
Sorry, this is exactly what we just talked about.
Yes.
And here it is.
Here it is. Eureka.
Magic.
Woo! We planned it that way, Joanna. You'll see the next two lines, FY '26 includes our to-be-hireds, and then the last line is our data without those to-be-hireds. So you'll see just a little difference there. I've also included two bar chart, just reflecting just an easier way to see the same data year over year. You'll see the steady layout of our professionals, our teachers, and then the ESPs, non-union and administrators. And then the last chart on this page is just a line graph. I think it really shows, it represents well what you're seeing in the other two data sets. Any questions on that? Mm-hmm. The next two slides, it's showing our professional staff. This is just a snapshot of our professional folks. Their education, where they're at, their years of service, and their age. I just thought this would be an interesting reflection of our professional folks. And I've highlighted the number of employees on the blue line that and the number of staff who are holding the various levels of education here. And then the last set of charts here is just a great representation of where our staff lay by building location and their levels of education. It's just a nice snapshot to have.
Yeah.
Questions? Great, thank you so so much.
Thank you.
I guess,
Yeah.
sorry. Just tell me to be
Becky,
quiet.
we may need you back.
No, I don't, it's a request, so I mean, just.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course.
I think that, for me, like, I appreciate, these are the numbers that I just asked for, and now I'm realizing that at the same time, I'm probably asking for numbers that also talk about, people who work with students and people who do not work with students, you know? So, direct service providers versus, maybe people who work with adults or, you know, whatever. So, because I don't know that I have a firm understanding as to what we're considering teachers versus administrators, right? In terms of like that coaching, you know, like just, yeah. So,
We can break it down further, for sure. I have that.
cool, thank you.
You're welcome.
We've also got this enrollment by grade.
Yeah,
so something we're gonna
all
cover.
I would say is, you've seen this 2 other times this year. This is the finalized October 1 data. I've given it you before, but we didn't have it finalized from October 1st. So, and there's a historical that does some projections there as well, of what's happened historically for enrollment. And then you'll see class sizes as well. So, we've had this couple other meetings as well, but this is, I'm right, Aaron, this is the final piece that was for October 1 enrollment,
Correct.
which is our fall census.
That's the second one, the 552.
We're on student enrollment, not.
We're on student. That was the first, this part right here.
Looks like
They
this.
switched tasks.
Backtracking onto a different attachment.
This is student enrollment though.
No, that's staff data.
that's- So sorry. Sorry. Okay. I gotta turn all together.
So, I don't think there should be anything new, but I just wanted to make sure the board had that. Because they fluctuate, and we always tell you in the fall, they're fluctuating until we get it solid.
Right, yeah, and I'm looking for it with also student population. I don't know why I thought there was 500 students for a second. So,
That'd be a little low. I
yeah,
hope we're not going
a little
that
bit.
low.
No.
So,
We
yeah.
all fit in this
so
building.
Just one more column. Thanks, sorry.
It's okay.
It's fun to say.
It's just any day for me.
So we've already handled the capital plan proposals, so we're going to item 8C, student support structure.
Yes. I think most of the board is aware of this, but Andrea Rasik has tendered her resignation for the end of this year. And whenever we have an administrator change, I think it's always good to stop and say, are we in the right structure? Do we need something different? Is what we're doing working? And so we've started that conversation. Today I met with all the special education staff, pre-K through 8, and started that conversation with them. And it's really about what's working well and what needs to see a little bit of evolution or change. It was a great meeting this afternoon. It was really, they were very helpful. But one of the things I announced to them in looking at it and looking at our student enrollment as it's been going down, that I feel we need one less administrator in Maple Run. So we'll be having, and I feel that the siloing of student supports, pre-K and special education has not been good for serving the whole child. So we will be looking to have, instead of 3 people leading that work, 2 people leading that work. And so we're right now asking what's our vision, what are the supports people that are people who are working with families and kids, and what do we need to have that's the best structure. And then once we have that, we'll say what are the attributes we need out of those 2 positions, and then we'll go to a hiring process. That does mean that 2 current people that are in those positions may or may not be the right people for those positions. We're not assuming, and I have to say that they've been incredibly professional about that and understand. So I can't say anything higher about Stephanie Ripley or Alexis Hoyt. They say, nope, we're trying to make the system better, let's go do that. So, and we wish Andrea the best. She's gonna go back to the classroom and be a pre-K teacher or pre-K special educator. She still holds those endorsements and wants to finish her career there. Which, there are many days I say, just put me back in the physics classroom, it was a lot of fun. So, we wish her the best. And we'll come back to you after we do that. As we showed in our change slide, one of the things that we use teachers to lead that, and one of the things I asked teachers today was that there's a small group of us as administrators that are working on designing that system, but that I'm looking at least for a teacher from each building to join this group and help advise us to do that. And that will be back to the teachers and say, do you think this action plan to move us forward is something that'll work? So we want their input, we want their help in revisioning and saying what they need. As I said to them, they work with the kids and the families.
That's right.
They know best. So that's what we're in the middle of the process. Our hope is by end of January, because if we're already a little behind because of the administrator hiring timeline. Administrative positions are out right now. So we need to hit the end of January with starting to post positions.
So you're hoping to move pretty quickly on?
We won't get all the way with the system, but enough that tells us, okay, these are the type of attributes we're looking for those positions. I know that we'll need people that have a special ed director endorsement, because they'll be dealing with that work as well. Pre-K, we've always required the pre-K director to have a special ed director endorsement, and you just need that. You need to have that to be able to do the job. So, yeah.
Any other questions? So we are moving item 8D to the end of the meeting. So we are moving on to item 9A, the warrants. And do we still have Nilda online? Nilda, are you online? No, okay. So we can do that so I need a motion to approve the warrants.
I'll make that, I'm sorry.
One of us.
I'll second.
I got 2 motions in 2 seconds. And if we've got everyone in the room, we can do that by, all in favor of approving the warrants. Oh, sorry, before I call for a vote, any discussion? No? All in favor of approving the warrants, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Warrants pass, and we move on to item 9B, superintendent report.
Thanks, Charlie. There's a couple things I wanted to highlight, but I wanted to give the board the chance to give me a ribbing. I've been getting a lot of ribbing of the photos and news articles with Senator Welch and the whole milk. I think I probably got 10 texts from friends about me drinking milk on TV, so.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't aware of it, so I'm gonna go look up the video and then I'll get the.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of, my friends have been like, okay, nice jumping in front of the video. But in all seriousness, Senator Welch is such a supporter of schools and education. And one of the things that, he's been to city schools several times. We literally got the phone call on a Thursday and said, can we come Monday? Like, okay, sure. But he is so low-key and such a genuinely nice person that it's just so fun to help him every time he wants to come. And he sat with a group of 8th grade boys, and it was just hilarious. Himself and Secretary Tebbets and myself, and the 2 of them, between Secretary Tebbets and Senator Welch and those boys, it was a lot of fun. Just having, and the boys were great. They were awesome. And they were all about pictures and all that, but it was fun to have him here. And I just learned last night that the House approved it as well, so it's going on to the president to sign. So we'll see if that gets through. It's interesting hearing some of and the senator is right on top of the nutrition science behind this. He was really talking a lot about that, the nutritional science. I think you all know we had a unified theater protection, 13. There's a whole bunch of, I have a bunch of information up on the newsletter this week, and just bringing the kids together from across programs. Anytime we either have unified drama or unified sports, it's just great to see the students working together, and in any format there. It just gives me such joy to see that. We've had Operation Happiness going all over. There's food. The kids have been collecting food at all our schools and bringing it to the armory, and then getting ready to box that But the highlight that I want to tell you was today, we had a moot court in AP Gov, where 2 classes were, one was the attorneys for the respondent and one for the presenter, and it was O'Grady. I'm gonna mix all the people that were in this, but it's really around a school board member using their social media and blocking someone from commenting. And it was a true case that went to the Supreme Court last year and was sent down to the lower level appellate court to re-rule. So it's a great case for the kids to present oral arguments and to respond and rebuttal, and the kids were fabulous. And we had Judge Heather Cooper, who's a federal judge. She was there being the Chief Justice and did a great job. It was really fun to work with her, along with Polly Rico, myself. Martin was there as well. Martin, I didn't realize all his debate background, so he was really good at drilling the kids with questions. And then Sarah Katam as well. And, you know, you just kind of sit there and you say, yeah, those are our kids. They're really sharp. And the judge was really impressed as well. So I don't know if you'd have anything to add, Martin. You were part of that.
You said it. It was an amazing experience.
Yeah. Well, and Chris Moore is really applying applied learning into an AP class. And it's just fun to see where it's project-based learning in an AP environment.
It's awesome.
It's really, really awesome. And so, next meeting, we're gonna do our yearbook photo. So I hope everyone's here on the
Thanks for
7th.
letting us know in advance.
I was told that.
I'll have to find a tie.
There was some, it says reminder,
really
please
nice.
tell them that we're having
Or a
a,
mask, whichever one.
so we're having a photo then, okay? And then and I wish everyone a great break, and I thank you for the budget, because I think I can say this for you, Bree, but keeping the budget at 4.1 lightens our load during vacation quite a bit, so thank you. For me, I think I can say that for both of us.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
Well, the decision to use money to, offset taxes was really fair and timely.
Yep.
Made it easier.
And it has a 3-year plan, so we're not just throwing ourselves off a cliff.
Correct.
Not to mention anybody.
Not to sound like a broken record.
Do it again.
we, at the last board meeting, Jessica's not here, she asked to know about building capacities. And one of the things I forgot to ask is was at the pleasure of the board to know the building capacities for the number of students. And if the board would like that, I would bring that to the next meeting.
If we're at any capacity,
We're below capacity.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like we're below capacity, so if it's a prudent conversation, then yeah, for sure. But if it's unnecessary, then I don't want you to have to put together
It's not that hard, because it's square footage divided by
Okay.
number of square feet.
I think her was coming because we weren't sure what was gonna happen with the budget, so she was wondering about, we were talking about structuring
Yeah.
changes. And I think that's where her question came from. I'm not trying to talk for her, but I think that's where the thought process came from. I don't think it's a bad thing to have in our repertoire,
Okay.
though we are hopefully going forward with this budget. It's good to have for maybe next year, following years,
Okay.
to have that in our brain.
All right. You good?
Yeah.
Okay. I just know we try to do those with the consensus of the board, and I just forgot to ask that last time. So, okay, I'm done.
All right. Item 9C is board announcements. Does anyone have any announcements?
I do. I just wanted to, I was lucky enough to work with Kate Lattison for Operation Happiness the last few weekends. And last weekend when we were sorting the food, it was amazing to see thousands of donations from Maple Run South. That made me really, really proud of the kids and teachers and leadership. And the BFA chamber singers at the cookie event with Senator Sanders, they were amazing.
So you
So
stole
proud
what I
of
think I
them.
was gonna say.
Did I steal it? I did see your guy there. It was good though, wasn't it awesome?
Yeah.
Really awesome.
BFA Chamber Singers, they've been doing a bunch of appearances. They have another one coming up on Monday, and that was the only one I got to attend, but it was a great, it did our community proud.
Oh, yeah, big
So.
time, yeah.
I had a note under the board announcements to let people know that their seats are up this year, but Amanda's not here, and I just saw Susie's petition and Jack's last time, so I think we're all covered on that, and thanks for getting that together, and good luck. Any other announcements? Item 9D, board observation reflections. I'm going to throw mine out there as I attended BFA Fine Arts Night last week, which is an awesome event because it's, for many reasons, but also because it pulls together, gives a chance for all the schools in our district to shine. In addition to BFA there, we've got, all of the elementary schools each do a little concert, which I thought was great for Fairfield. I believe it was their first concert of the year. And I also thought it was nice to see we had, the arts teachers at each other's events supporting each other. I saw Zach Kelly playing with, I think, the Fairfield kids, and it just shows how well our district is integrated, I think. Any other observations and reflections? Hearing none, going back to item 8D, the personnel matter, and I need to just taking a moment to make sure I have my procedures correct here. So I'm going to make a motion to move item 8D into executive session per VSA 313A1 after making a specific finding that premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or person involved at a substantial disadvantage. Could someone second that?
I'll second it, come on.
Okay, and so we're calling, we're going to do a vote on whether we have a finding. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? All right, so we have our finding. So now I'm going to make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss item 8D at 7:58 p.m. Per 1 VSA 3. Could someone second that?
I'll second that.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? All right, we are in executive session as of 7:59 p.m. All right, we are out of executive session at 8:12 p.m. And I believe there's no other business to come before the board. Am I correct? Looks like I'm correct. And so we are adjourned at 8:12 p.m. I'd like to just thank thank SATEC for hosting us, and have a great holiday, everyone.